Hey folks, Sean here, and in this episode, I want to talk to you about optimizing your advertising campaign performance, which is something that I use on the earlier stage side of driving traffic to my B2B SaaS product. Now, I talked about this before in terms of how to leverage this channel, but just to reiterate, in the beginning, as in when I'm getting these B2B SaaS products off the ground, if it makes financial sense, as in if it's economical and practical, based on the keywords that I want to advertise against, and what that's ultimately going to cost me, I'll invest budget in the beginning to test how effectively I'm able to convert visitors to my landing page to customers using my product. Now, if that channel is performing from a cost effectiveness standpoint, then I'm going to continue to invest in it and further optimize it as I move forward. And I've talked a little bit about what optimizing your campaign looks like, as in ensuring that you have full control, not using any of the pre-made like wizards or anything like that when you're setting up a Google search advertising campaign, and instead doing as much as you possibly can from a custom perspective, which gives you full control over what you can change. However, what I haven't talked about in greater detail, and I want to talk about in this episode, is the optimization strategies here. Now, when you are looking at how well your advertising campaign is performing, in my opinion, what matters most is your CTR, or your click-through rate. As in, what is the percentage of people that are searching for a keyword or phrase close or relevant to what it is that you're targeting, and what percentage of that traffic is clicking on that advertisement, sending the traffic to your landing page, and then you can also optionally measure conversions, which I recommend as well too, in your campaign. And for me, what that looks like is I'm signing up for an actual account, so I can see that too. Now, the focus here is on the click-through rate, and that's typically reflected as a percentage. So where I was when I was starting out was on the lower end in the 2 to 5% range, which might seem good to you if you are familiar with what's considered to be kind of the universal benchmark for advertising campaigns, around 1%. That's often the benchmark that people use, but I was doing considerably better than that even before I optimized, and that was all cost effective. So after I passed a number of those tests, I moved forward and I looked for opportunities to make improvements to that. Now, since then, that has improved. And at the moment, my performance sits around 10%, which might be considerably higher than what you're used to, but this is entirely possible for you as well too. And I'm going to describe for you the lever that I ultimately use in order to do that, and the target, which again is that click-through rate. So you want to focus on that as a percentage to better understand how well what you've been doing is helping you optimize in terms of whether or not that click-through rate is ultimately going up. And the biggest thing, which I've talked about before, is hammering those negative keywords. What this means is going in and evaluating which keywords your campaign is performing well for. As in, what are people searching for, and what is Google ultimately deciding to show your ad for your landing page? Now, some of these keywords are going to be relevant, but a lot of them are not. Now, my tool is a podcast show notes creator. As in, if you have a podcast, you've got an audio file, a recording of that episode, you upload it to my tool, it automatically creates things for you like titles and summaries and all that kind of stuff. But there are a lot of search phrases where Google's deciding to show my ad which are not relevant to that. Like, for example, give me a list of popular podcasts, or how do I name my podcast? Stuff like that. So if people are searching for that and find my ad, even if they click on it, they're probably going to just leave the page because what they're going to find is not relevant to them. So I don't want my advertisement to be shown when people are searching for that. And that's what the negative keyword list is all about. So in your Google advertising campaign, you can create this negative keyword list, and in there you can continually add keywords that you don't want to track for. Now, over time, as you are adding more negative keywords to that list, more search terms are going to continue to pop up, which are still not going to be relevant. And if you just set it and forget it, then over time, the performance is going to dip. But if you're vigilant and you are regularly checking this performance and you're hammering those negative keywords and building that list up, then the performance should go in the opposite direction, as in performance should improve. And that's what has enabled me to achieve a level of about 10% with my click-through rate. And I'm continuing to optimize that, which means that it should continue to go up from here as my campaign, the way it's currently designed, continues to perform. So what does that routine look like? Well, for me, that's about a weekly basis at this point. Every few days to a week, I go in and I check, what does the keyword list look like, and do I need to update my negative keyword list? Oftentimes that is the case. I've never gone in there and have not added at least a dozen negative keywords to my list, just to give you an idea of how frequently I'm checking and ultimately the work that I do when I go in there. So the takeaway for this episode is, in order to improve the performance of this channel, if you're leveraging Google search ads, is to go in there and to manage something like your negative keyword list, which is one of your most effective levers to improve the metric that matters, and that metric being your click-through rate.